Well, hi everybody. It's Joe Chaffee and Joe Rayo here on the Joe and Joe Weather Show. And since a few of you have been asking about JJ, you can see JJ. He and I walked over 5 miles today, and trust me when I tell you, we walked uphill both ways. And he is he's now wiped out. I'm not. I'm actually in pretty good shape. I'm used to it, but he's wiped out, which is kind of the point, right, Joe?
You're going to tucker that poor dog out.
Nah.
I mean, he's already tuckered out.
Listen, he left my shoulder about 3 miles into the walk somewhere in the woods that I had to go back and get it because
Oh,
he he smells everything on the path. And of course there are squirrels everywhere. And guess what? He just runs out right after them. So the leash goes from being, kind of loose to completely tight and taut, and my arm goes with it. So I have to. I alternate. Then of course there's the rope burn that results as well.
well, you're bringing back memories. I had a much smaller dog than you, but I always remember we have a lot of deer around here. Whenever you saw a deer, it was like he'd have to go, and there were times I thought he was going to pull my arm out of the socket. Come on,
Yeah.
you can't, can't do that.
No, I
Ha!
know. I'm having fun with them though, and it's like you know what? It gets me out there every day. I do the walks. Going to do the walks with them, and it's a beautiful dog park. It's got multiple trails. There's the Nautilus River runs by it, and there's fishing there. So we're going to have a blast as soon as it just gets a little bit warmer. All right. So the Joe and Joe Weather Show, as it is every night, we are happy to say, is brought to you by. Well, hold on a second. This is because I wanted to get the dog in the shot first, so uh, hang on. We'll start that again. The Joe and Joe Weather Show is brought to you by Wholesale Holiday Lighting by Giannini, your complete holiday lighting specialist at 162 Ocean Avenue in Lindenhurst, 631-957-5106. Whether you want your house decorated come the holidays or maybe you want to do this as a business, give them a call, 631-957-5106. The website is liholidaylighting.com. And of course, also brought to you by Omni True Value Hardware at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon. They got mulch and they got topsoil and they have gravel and they've got everything you need to get your yard in tip-top shape. 631-756-1125, 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon for the best prices in town. OmniTrueValue.com. So, Joe, I'm assuming because no one has said anything that the sound is okay today, folks. Is the sound okay? Can you hear us?
You're coming through okay, at least through my headset, and I hope I'm coming through okay. A lot of people were saying yesterday, Joe, that you sounded overwhelming,
Yeah,
and I
no,
sounded very soft.
yeah. I went in there afterward, and I found that anytime, and we were talking about this yesterday. Whenever Microsoft does an update to Windows, they it just takes whatever settings I have in my audio and just changes it. And I went afterward and found that the one of the audio levels on the microphone, which by the way, for those of you who don't know, Microsoft in their infinite wisdom decided to hide the microphone settings. So you have to kind of dig to find them. I actually finally did find them, and the settings were totally off the wall. So anyway, I think I fixed it. I hope we both sound okay. Nothing brings me more solace than than when uh, the technical stuff doesn't work right. And Joe Lopresti says the sound is good. Okay, so I'm feeling good here.
Good, good, fantastic. We got to 59 degrees here in Putnam Valley today, Joe, and I think there's most definitely a. I don't know what you think, but I think for this area, there's a cool bias with the GFS temperature projections.
Yeah.
So much so that I pushed them up by about 5 or 6 degrees for Thursday and Friday. I think temperatures on Thursday and Friday in many areas, except for places right down by the water, are going to be hitting or exceeding 70. And we could have near record temperatures for Thursday and Friday in the lower Hudson Valley. The temperatures will be reaching, I think, on Thursday. I'm calling for an average temperature of around 70 degrees. The record at Westchester Airport in White Plains is 68. And then on the following day, we have temperatures that will be almost, if not as warm. So get out and enjoy Thursday and Friday. Tomorrow, though, a little bit of a setback because the winds will be coming more from an east and southeast direction, cooling things off. I think it's going to be cooler by about 5 or 10 degrees as opposed to what we had out there today. Not bad. I mean, considering how cold it was just last week, tomorrow's not going to be a bad day at all. But then up it comes, the temperatures for Thursday and for Friday.
You know, as a rule over the years, Joe, I've always in March and April, less so in May, but in March and April, I always go higher than whatever guidance is going for temperatures in instances like this, where you have a southwest wind or a west southwest wind. It never, the models never warm it up enough. And I mean, I've seen busts of 10 and 15 degrees in the springtime. And of course, the other in the other direction, and I think this applies for tomorrow, you have to be really careful with the south southeast wind everywhere because that's going to actually hold temperatures down. So look for readings, I think, to be noticeably cooler. You may have to go pretty far inland tomorrow to get into the 60s. And then, of course, it's all going to go the other way on Thursday when it goes back to a southwest wind and everybody just flies up and warms up with all the sunshine. So I've always said, I don't care what goes on in the wintertime, as difficult as wintertime forecasting is with snow and everything else, the spring is the worst. It's the worst time of year in the Northeast and Northern Mid-Atlantic states. It's the worst time of year to forecast. You get hammered by the marine, either the wind off the water or a marine layer or something comes along to screw up your forecast one way or another. And you, at least for the next 2 months. And by the way, in the spring, Joe, in the spring, we have one of the things that always comes back in the springtime, right, are the birds. And of course, when the birds come back, who else is there? Who else comes back? Mrs. Bundy. She's ready. She's got that skeptical look on her face that the birds are coming back.
What a face.
I know.
What a face. I can imagine Hitchcock. I don't know the name of the actress who played Mrs. Bundy, but I'm sure that when she walked in for her audition, Hitchcock took one look and said, "That's it. There she is."
There she is. Oh yeah. No, he had a certain type in mind for that particular part. So clearly, she's I forgot her name. I did look her up, and she has done. She showed up in a number of movies over the years. I believe she was British or started in British movies, and then came over and did some work here in Hollywood. I forgot her name, but no matter. Okay.
Ethel Griffiths.
Ethel Griffiths. Yes, that's it. Yes. Okay, so let's put I put Mrs. Bundy aside. I've got her always. She's always there. So in case we ever have bird issues in weather, she'll be standing by.
Because there are 8,650 species of birds in the world today, it is estimated that 5,750,000,000 birds live in the United States alone. The 5 continents of the world, kill them all! Kill them all! Get rid of them, those nasty animals. Probably contain more than 100 billion birds.
Oh, good Lord. Poor Mrs. Bundy. All right, let's get going here. Let's take a look at what's going on the satellite. If I can just get this. Why is this not coming up correctly? Hang on a second, Joe.
I don't know.
It's one of those nights. But on the there we go. Now I'm on the right setup. Okay, the U.S. satellite view uh, had a few clouds this morning, I noticed, and even a couple of light showers popped up over southern New England and Long Island. They quickly moved out. I don't know if they were even enough to wet the ground in some spots. They were so light. But then, of course, the sun broke everything wide open, and we are still seeing some rather nice weather conditions here, Joe. Clear. There's some high clouds down from Alabama northeast into North Carolina. It looks like some sort of weak system aloft moving through, but it really isn't doing very much. And then, of course, you start to see all the moisture that's gathering in the western half of the United States. This is where we're going to see some winter weather over the next 7 days. And also, we're going to be setting up for a round of severe weather across the southern plains and lower Mississippi Valley come this weekend.
And we were talking yesterday about the fact that it was very unusual that the Storm Prediction Center put not one, not two, but 3 consecutive days in their extended outlook for possible severe weather, which again does not happen. That was days 4, 5, and 6. I have not had a chance to look at the SPC website today, but I'm sure that they continue to show activity probably today for days 3, 4, and 5. Right?
I have SPCs actually for days. I think we're in the day. Well, day 3, they've got marginal risk from northwest Texas across Oklahoma into northwestern Arkansas, southern Missouri. And then on the day 4, 5, day 4 through 8 outlook, they've got it for day 4, 50% probability. I'm sorry, JJ just got up. He walked about 4 feet and then just went back down asleep. 15% slight risk probability in Oklahoma on day 5. Day 4, by the way, is Friday into Saturday morning. Day 5 is Saturday into Sunday, expanding that 15% probability down into Texas and covering most of the state of Oklahoma. And then on day 6, which is Sunday into Monday, you're into eastern Oklahoma, East Texas, the northwestern half of Louisiana, and all of Arkansas. So yeah, when SPC puts them in that day 4, 5, day 4 to 8 time frame, and they got risk up there, that tells you, that always says pay attention. That there should be pay attention for a solid outbreak.
Yeah, and I saw something today that the fact that we have a La Nina, admittedly the La Nina is beginning to diminish now, but
Right.
uh, lining this year up, showing similarities to the year 2011, and how there really wasn't much in the way of tornadic activity until we got to April, and then all of a sudden April and May, very very busy, very very active, and the concern is that although we haven't seen very much in the way of tornadic activity to date, that once we move into April and May, that we will be seeing a higher percentage, a greater than normal threat of severe weather, thunderstorms, and possible tornadic activity as well. As you just mentioned, Joe, in the especially in the nation's midsection, Tornado Alley, as it's
Right.
sometimes called.
Well, what you what you look for is probably you look for a setup that favors above normal temperatures on the southern half and below normal temperatures on the northern half, where you get these really large contrasts and air masses and strong shortwave troughs that come down and dig a bit. Um, I would think blocking, if it develops, which usually does in the spring, but if you get if we get that North Atlantic blocking again, I think that probably might suggest that we could get into some widespread severe weather outbreaks come April, late March, April, and May. Certainly, right now it's quiet. It can't get any quieter than it's been for the first half of this month in terms of severe weather. I'm looking. We got the radar up right now. Right now, on the East Coast, there's hardly anything going on. There's a little bit of light snow up in eastern Maine, but other than that, it's pretty much quiet everywhere east of the Rockies. We're starting to see some moisture and some precipitation down in parts of New Mexico, and of course in the mountains that snow. Also in northern Utah and getting activity coming into California and the Pacific Northwest. It's just been such a, since that busy pattern, Joe, in February. It's not, you get these active periods, and usually if one part of the country calms down, the other part of the country sort of gets active. But the last couple of weeks, it's been pretty quiet in most places from coast to coast. So now we're seeing the West going to get busy, and the East still probably staying quiet into the first part of next week, and at the very beginning of next week.
Yeah, I really don't see very much. I mean, that weather front that's supposed to move through here on Friday, I honestly don't think we're going to see much more than a couple of showers at most. That would probably be early in the day. Now, if we are able to clear things out sufficiently on Friday afternoon, as the winds swing around into a more westerly direction, temperatures could, in spite of the frontal passage, temperatures on Friday could still manage to get way up there through the 60s, maybe even touching or exceeding 70. And then it all caves in on us over the upcoming weekend. The combination of colder temperatures over the weekend and also increasingly windy conditions later Saturday and Sunday will really be like a slap in the face, because people are going to be, you know, they were out today almost dancing in the streets. And Thursday and Friday, I think a lot of people will be saying, spring is here, spring is here. And it's going to be, the ugly truth is it's not here just yet. And
No.
this weekend and early next week, it's going to be quite a different story.
WPC, after days and days of showing no precip in the east, they have now generously given us, Joe, between a tenth and a quarter of an inch of liquid between now and next Tuesday night. Quarter to a half, southern New Jersey and points south, and of course, a very large area of heavy precip in the Ohio Valley, the middle and lower Mississippi Valley, the central and southern plains. I mean, just absolutely loaded. And also, going back into Colorado, there's probably going to be two storm systems in play here for that state. And eventually, there's going to be, what I think is going to be a sizable amount of snow up and down the Central Rockies. And also, the rain, the WPC is still very bullish on rain up and down California, both along the coast and inland, and running up through the Pacific Northwest. WPC in their snowfall probability of at least 4 inches in the next 72 hours. Not in Denver, but west and north of Denver, we're seeing probabilities of 50% or higher over a good chunk of northwestern Colorado, a large portion of central and southern Utah, northern Arizona. Also, you see a high likelihood of 95% in the Sierra Nevadas. No shocker there. Also in parts of eastern Nevada on up into Wyoming, a fairly large area probability of at least 4, and the 50% probability of at least 4 in a narrow band across South Dakota and into Minnesota. On the actual forecast, which I brought up here on the map, they've got an inch for Denver, but just west of Denver, 6. And again, this is from a lead system, and it's still going to be going on as we go through the weekend. And also, you can see the heavy snows up in the mountains of California. In their long range, Joe, on Saturday into Sunday, WPC has a 70 to 90% probability over much of central and eastern Colorado of at least 3. And that's as far as they go in their long range. At least a quarter of an inch of liquid equivalent of snow and sleet. We know it's all going to be snow. So let's just call it for what it is. Probability of at least 3 inches, covering a rather large area there in the Central Rockies. So all the action in the western part of the United States, while we just snooze here in the eastern part of the U.S.
Yeah, it's going to be a fairly easy pattern for us for at least the next several days. And then it turns windy and colder over the weekend. And I'm actually thinking there may be a little bit, let's stress that, a little bit of frozen precipitation possible here on Tuesday of next week. No, not snow. Maybe either rain or maybe a little bit of sleet or ice mixing in. It's not going to be a lot to write home about, but it's going to get that much colder between what we're going to see, let's say Thursday, on into the early part of next week, I think.
By the way, here's your front for Friday morning, and I think you're right. there's probably not going to be much in the way of anything with this as it goes by. At worst, a passing shower, and it's one of these things where you're going to be so warm the night before that you're going to hold on to those temperatures into the afternoon, and it's probably not going to really turn colder until Friday night into Saturday morning. The gradient gets really tight, at least for a few hours there, Friday night into Saturday morning. And then here comes this big high, Joe, coming. Look at this high. This is for Sunday into Monday. This 1044 high in central Canada that goes to James Bay. The thickness has dropped down to between 516 and 522. I mean, that's a cold shot of air that's coming down here for Sunday into Monday. It doesn't get much further south than, say, Northern Virginia in terms of the southernmost extent of the chilly air. The front kind of gets hung up somewhere in the Carolina mountains. And then, of course, look at this storm. Low pressure comes out of Texas and runs northward into Colorado. This is the model just kind of wrapping up a big area of snow here. It looks like on this run, it's actually a little bit further north than in prior runs, with heavy snows more in Nebraska and into northwestern Iowa and eventually into South Dakota. And also into Wyoming. So on this run, it pushes it further north than some of the prior runs. And then, of course, that big cold high early next week just wedges in. So it'll be cold into Sunday. And by the way, the model shunts all this moisture. It looks like it's headed our way. The low is funny because you get this, the storm quickly intensifies and then it starts to weaken very quickly as it moves eastward. It doesn't even bring any precip here. You have to wait for a second low along about Wednesday that runs up to the Great Lakes, and then on this run it brings showers here on Thursday. So maybe we won't see anything until later next week if this is right.
Yeah, it's possible. I'm not calling for very much. As I said, less than a 20% chance of a couple of showers here, maybe on Friday with the weather front, the cold front early in the day. And then for Tuesday of next week, I was thinking kind of like either variably cloudy or more clouds and sun, and maybe a passing shower. And if it comes in early enough, it might just be cold enough for a little bit of ice or sleet to mix in with the showers. No snow, but just maybe a touch of precipitation for the early part of next week. It
Right.
really does not look like much of anything.
By the way, that was what I just showed on the air was the perpendicular GFS. Now I've got the regular GFS, which kind of the same idea, at least so far, going into Monday. It's it's a shade. I mean, it's just as strong with the high, but it doesn't bring the cold air as far south. On the GFS, it tries to lift some snow into southeast and south central Pennsylvania down into Maryland and Delaware, light stuff with what's left of this storm that comes out of Colorado and Kansas. And here too, I mean, it just gets all shunted southeastward Monday night into Tuesday. Then it's got a stronger low that forms in Oklahoma that runs up to eastern Ohio, and it brings heavy rain here. Looks like or heavier rain here Wednesday night into Thursday. We'll have to see how real that is. I want to take a look at what the upper air looks like. Let's take a look. Oh, good Lord. The world we live in, Mr. Rayo. The world we live in.
Who used that in his newscasts? Was that Paul Harvey? No, I don't think so.
No.
Maybe it was Lowell Thomas or some one of those distinguished news anchors from yesteryear.
Yeah. So we got a ridging in the east with this west-southwest flow. So obviously, we're going to be warm except for tomorrow with the southeast wind coming in off the cold ocean. There's your trough that goes into eastern Canada. Now the trough strengthens right along 60 degrees west. So if you take a look here, folks, you got all of this troughing here out in the Atlantic, and it acts sort of as a wall. Here's your southern system, the southern part of the jet, trying to move eastward into that, and it's just not going to be able to, so it just sort of minors out. And then you've got the next one that has a bit more success, I'm just trying to see if we get this out to the long range. Yeah, I mean, eventually, as we get to the latter part of the month, Joe, there's a really strong upper low, another strong upper low around the 19th that comes out of Colorado and heads to the western lakes. Now that might wind up being a severe weather producer if that verifies. That old trough strengthens nicely in the east, only to pull out, and then you've got more troughing that's extends from central Canada down into the southwest. So I mean, if you're looking for a second half late season snowfall, it's hard for me to imagine how you're going to get it out of this. But I prove me wrong is what I say.
Well, one thing that came up on the evening news tonight was a tremendous round of rain that has been falling over Hawaii for the past 24 hours and has caused massive flooding in some places. I'm wondering if on the upper flow, the upper air charts, that there's some kind of a closed system that's near Hawaii. At this time of the year, they sometimes get what are called Kona storms, where a storm literally develops overhead and doesn't move very much.
Right.
And
I just pulled up the radar from the Big Island. There is a lot of rain covering the Big Island and uh, the two islands to the west. Radars for Hawaii, it's pretty loaded out here on the radar.
yeah, yeah. And again, a lot of the precipitation that falls, especially on the Big Island. Now, this may be actually synoptically induced. There may be some kind of a system either at the surface or aloft that's causing all of this rain. But more often than not, especially on the Big Island, what you have is lifting. The especially in the summertime, the northeast winds blow and hit those volcanic cones. The air is forced upward and produces heavy duty rains. If you if you ever won as a prize on some game show, oh, congratulations, you've won a trip to Hilo, Hawaii. That actually is the booby prize, because Hilo, Hawaii, because of that orographic effect, gets about 200 or more days a year of measurable precipitation, and in places not far away from Hilo, off to the west and to the north, up near the volcanic cones, they see like 200 or 300 inches of rain per year. It's not a very nice place to be if you're going to be. That's why more people go to Honolulu, which is on the other side of the mountains, and they're in the rain shadow, as opposed to Hilo. Hilo again gets a lot of precipitation, and that's the current
Yeah,
upper
no,
air,
this is
Joe. That
this is going back to Saturday. There's a trough. The bottom part of a trough in the Pacific got left behind, and an upper low formed on Monday here, just to the west of the islands, and that's what's doing this.
yeah,
And it's forecast. This was west of the islands yesterday. It's been sitting there all day today, and it's going to start to weaken, but there's still troughing here going into Thursday. I also brought up this is the radar view from Molokai. And just tons of rain here, Joe, coming up from the southeast and covering all of the islands, the
right.
western parts of the western islands here in Hawaii. They're just getting clobbered one blob of rain after another, and even some embedded heavy thunderstorms in there too that I'm seeing showing up on the radar. We should have got to use this UCAR radar before. I wish we had, because there's a lot of good radar sites here, including
Yeah,
Guam.
yeah.
Oh no, they
For
said
those of you,
no. We just got a message. Sorry, no, sorry. Data unavailable for the requested date and time. And of course, we've got all the radars in Alaska. Let's take a look at this one. This is the
you know, I
Fairbanks
just
radar.
I just realized 5 years ago, my wife and I, at this very time of the year, we were in Hawaii, and I got to tell you, I enjoyed Alaska more than Hawaii, because when we landed in Hawaii, they had roaring winds, in and out, clouds and sun. Hawaii is not the tropical paradise that so many people dream of. There are some times of the year where you just simply don't want to be in Hawaii, and this might be just one of them right now.
I found Hawaii, by the way, to be very comfortable for being out there in the tropics. I found it to be very comfortable. I don't know what it was. It's just not the same. The when you're getting that tropical humidity, it's not the same as the killer humidity that happens in the Northeast or in the
Oh no,
Great Lakes. You
no,
know,
you get it.
the air
You
is
get it.
much easier to take, even though the temperature in Hawaii was. I found Hawaii to be comfortable. It got warm. It was warm, but it wasn't obnoxiously warm. And at the same time, the nights were comfortable. There was always a breeze. It sort of worked for me.
Well, like I said, the last time I was there it was at this time of the year in March. We had a temperature of about 70, but again, roaring winds. I don't remember what the weather pattern was for that particular time, but I mean the winds were roaring. The our door, we were staying at a hotel. The door kept slamming shut. It was it was crazy, and I actually enjoyed being more in. And we had just come from Alaska. We went from Alaska to Hawaii. Alaska was a lot nicer, much less wind. Yeah, it was chillier, colder, in the 30s to around 40. But I kind of enjoyed Alaska more than I did Hawaii, at least on that particular occasion.
Well, Alaska's it's still on my list of places to go. I definitely want to get up there. Um,
Well, as
uh,
Bob Ross the painter said, as Bob Ross the painter used to say, because he spent a long time in Alaska. He said that when he was 20 years old, he was living in Florida, and he said, "My favorite uncle sent me to Alaska, Uncle Sam."
yes,
He says, and the one thing about Uncle Sam, if you don't go, you're going to jail.
right.
But he said I fell in love with a crazy place. He said God was having a good day when he made Alaska, and I have to agree with him on that.
Oh
It is
yeah,
just glorious. So yeah, you have to go there before you depart this mortal coil. Go
correct.
to Alaska. Yeah.
Eli on the chat board says, it's quiet when we're talking about Hawaii, but still love the coast to coast coverage. Well, we do try, Eli. Thank you. I know you. When the weather's been as quiet as it is, it just kind of sometimes you feel like you're grasping at straws. But it is always interesting to look around and see what's going on elsewhere. Many times that weather doesn't have any impact here, but every once in a while you see something out somewhere way out to the west or to the southwest, and it winds up affecting us down the road. But in this particular case, uh, definitely not going to be an issue here. Not from that.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely
Not
not.
from that. By the way, Steve S on the chat board. Joe has had dogs before, and of course, he had
Yes.
Cody for a good number of years. Steve S is giving you instructions
No, no.
about what happened.
I actually already have him. He's very smart. I taught him because he's a year old and he was a stray, and he was with somebody, but they couldn't take care of him, and they told me at the shelter that he didn't know anything. I mean, in terms of I I I taught him to give me his paw, to lay down, to sit very very quickly, and he's been great. Yeah, yeah, the pulling thing on. He's a dog. He's a half Australian sheep. Wait, I got the paperwork here. Let me see what it says. Hang on, because if it's not written down, I don't remember these things. Oh, JJ just woke up. Oh, now he went back to sleep. He's an Australian Shepherd mix, black, white, bicolor, medium, 40 pounds. He's 1 year and 13 days old. His date of birth is February 23rd, 2020. So he's barely over a year old. And he's going to the vet tomorrow because he's due a parvo shot. And I got his pet insurance. I bought that today, so that he's all set. He's got major
Does he have
medical. I don't even have major medical. He's got major medical.
does he have a microchip?
He's chipped. Yes, he is.
Yeah. Well, that's
And
good.
let's see if you can see him here. I don't know, hold on. He's kind of behind the chair. He moved. Do you see him? You should be able to see him here. I mean, I
You got to
know
go
there's a
to the left.
delay, so just
Oh, there he is. There he is. Yes,
yeah.
I see him.
He started at the end of the couch. Now he's moved his way to the middle of the couch. And he's going for another walk because We had a little accident last night, just a little one.
Oh,
Uh,
well,
well, he made no. He didn't. I'm glad it was number two, not number one, because number one can be a real problem. Number
well,
two,
it's the stains.
yeah. Well, and I have a new carpet, but he had the good sense of taking his, doing number two on the wood floor, so it didn't touch the carpet, thank God. And anyway, cleaned it up. But I think it was because it was the first day, and his eating was his feeding was off, and I was trying to get him all day to go to the bathroom, and he didn't really go until last night before we went to bed. So I thought he was all cleaned out, but apparently he wasn't. But he should be today, because I
So
took.
now with that heavy blanket now, I mean, is he allowed up on the bed when you go to sleep, or is
You
he
know what was funny?
sleep on the floor?
The last night he came up on the bed. Okay, he came up on the bed. He laid down next to me for about 2 minutes, and then he left. And then he went on the floor and he slept on the floor, which I thought was strange. Then this morning, then in the middle of the night, I woke up and he was asleep on the floor. And then he woke up and then he jumped back on the bed and he stayed on the bed for about 2 minutes. And then he got off the bed again. It's like, okay, if you don't want to stay on the bed, that's fine by me. But, he's got his own bed. It's funny with animals. This is the second time. Cody, I bought him his own bed. He wanted nothing to do with it, wanted no part of it. And he's got a bed, but he'd rather lay down on the cold floor. That's, what are you gonna do?
Yep.
Oh
I
well.
would, my dog used to sleep at the foot of on the bed, at the foot of the bed, and I used to stay down here and do some work. I'd come upstairs to go to bed, and now if I tried to get into the bed, you'd hear the dog going,
Grrr.
"Grr, grr." Yeah, like, what are you doing? You know, like you've just woke me up, or you just disturbed me. Get away! And he'd get really angry if I had tried to just move him, to one side or whatever. So
Yeah, no, Cody never slept in the bed. He always stayed downstairs, and he would sleep on one of the couches. Um,
yeah.
but it was in the family room couch, so it wasn't in the shrine room, the living room. If you're Italian, you understand that. Okay, if you're Italian, you get that. So anyway, uh, uh, the chairman, Scott Briller, is out doing COVID runs tonight. So we don't have a Briller Jeopardy. Steve
I have
Estes.
one for you.
Oh, that you
I have
have it.
your
That's right.
Briller.
I'm sorry. He told me to remind you that you have it. Okay.
Yes, I
So
have it. I
hold on.
have it.
Can I just refresh my water really quick?
Sure,
So I'm going to go refresh
sure.
my water. In the meantime, you can do a commercial or something.
Well, hi, folks. I'm Chuck McDowell. Do you have a
JJ,
timeshare?
you are tired. My God. You are exhausted.
Ah, yes, the happiness of having a dog. Yes, indeed.
It's funny too, Joe. If I'm working on the computer here in the kitchen area or when I'm doing the show, he leaves me alone.
But my dog used to come down here. I used to jump on the other chair. He didn't do much of anything. I guess he just wanted to be with somebody while I was typing or conducting business down in the office here. They're very interesting.
Frank Riccio, by
Very,
the
very.
way, Frank Riccio, by the way, used the two words that are synonymous with Italian living rooms in the Bronx: plastic slip covers.
Yeah.
And they would
Well,
they would take them off. The only time they would take them off is if they were getting some like really important company, but you still weren't allowed
right,
to sit on them. You still
right.
weren't allowed to sit on the furniture. What's the point of having furniture if you can't sit on it? I never understood that.
There's they did a whole show about this on Everybody Loves Raymond, where
Yes,
the mother had, and like she took the plastic slip cover off, And Raymond and his brother Robert are looking at each other and saying, "Now what do we do?"
Right. I remember that. It's true.
And in fact, they finally sat down on the uncovered couch or sofa, and Robert said, "I feel almost dirty."
I'll tell you something. I loved Everybody Loves Raymond because I lived those episodes. There were so many Raymond episodes that were my life. So if anybody
Yep.
would look at that and think that the stuff was preposterous, no, trust
No.
me, it was very true to life. If you grew up as an Italian in the New York area,
Right.
that's what it was like. Okay, it really was like that, and
Absolutely.
it's hilarious. It's absolutely hilarious. Okay, I'm all set. So I got my water.
All right. So here is Briller Jeopardy for Mr. Chiaffi for Tuesday. A category are real Jeopardy questions. These were actual questions that appeared on Jeopardy. And by the way, I don't know if you saw it tonight. Have you had a chance to watch the last couple of nights? They now have Katie Couric as the guest host of
Oh,
Jeopardy.
yeah, I did see it, and a few people expressed their never to be humble opinions about it too. So,
Yeah, I could imagine. They had a category tonight, the constellations. And I said to Renata, I said, now, why is it that they have that category? If I ever were to appear on Jeopardy, they would never have that category. I would run through that in like 15 seconds. But um, anyway, your questions here, real Jeopardy questions. First question is, what was the name of the movie that Charlton Heston won his only Best Actor Oscar award?
oh, Ben Hur,
Ben-Hur is correct. And
and then the sequel to Ben Hur about his sister, Ben Him.
Ben Gay. Oh, I thought it was Ben Gay.
No, Ben Him. Go on.
Ben Him. Question two.
That's an old
Name
Red
two.
Buttons joke.
Yes. Ha ha. Ho ho. He.
Yes,
If you don't remember who Red Buttons is, none of this would have any impact on any
exactly.
of you.
Next.
Name 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 two out of the five presidents buried west of the Mississippi River.
Okay, I'm going to say Ronald Reagan.
Believe it or not, that's not one of the five,
He wasn't buried in California?
unless somebody missed something. No, there are five. There are five of them here, but Reagan is not one of them.
Hmm.
Now that doesn't sound right. You're right.
Uh,
We would.
I'll say Richard Nixon.
Nixon is one. All you have to do
Uh,
is name two out of the five.
Reagan's got to be buried in California. Where else would they have buried him?
I don't think it would be Arlington, would it? No, it wouldn't be
No.
Arlington.
All right. Well, I got Nixon, so let me try and get another one. Hold on. Okay, I'm sorry. What's the boundary west of the what?
Buried west of the Mississippi River.
I'll,
See,
what was that in Macy's?
the executive producer says that according to Alexa, he was buried in California.
Okay. I'll say Truman.
Yes, Truman was number two.
Okay, so I
So
got.
there you got it, 2 out of 5.
So what were the other three?
Hoover,
Okay.
LBJ,
All right.
and Eisenhower.
Okay. So all really from this century
Yes,
or the last
yes,
century, yes.
of the last century.
Next.
Question 3. It is the only company in the Dow Jones Industrial Average that was included in original index in 1896. The only company in the Dow Jones Industrial Average that was included in the original index in 1896. You have 30 seconds. No.
Hold on. Oh God, and it's still there.
Still there. Yep.
Okay. Well, I know it's not. I know it's not IBM. I know it's.
Want me to give you a hint?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll give you a hint. It's a skyscraper in Midtown Manhattan.
is a
The
skyscraper
blank building. The blank
the
building.
blank building?
Actually, there are two words here. The blank building.
I know all the companies that are in the Dow, and the one, and I'm trying to remember now which one. Oh, I'm trying to do that without pulling up the list, the whole list.
Yeah.
Well, AT&T is not in the Dow anymore, so that's not it. General Electric is not in the Dow anymore, so that's not it.
Whoa, 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 whoa. What did you say about General Electric?
General Electric is not in the Dow anymore.
This must be an old Jeopardy question then.
Yeah, no, GE's not in the Dow anymore.
Well, that's what I'm only reading to you what the chairman sent to me.
Okay, so that
The
must be
answer,
an old question. Okay,
it must be an
because
old
GE
question.
hasn't been in the Dow for a few years now.
These questions, if Reagan was not in that question too, who knows? These questions must date back to like the 1980s,
Maybe
perhaps.
Art Fleming was hosting the show at the time.
Maybe Art Fleming. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, go
So
ahead.
the last question, and I'm going to give you a hint right off the bat.
Why?
Okay. Well, I thought it might be fun to give you
All
a
right,
hint
go
right
ahead.
off
Give
the
me the
bat.
hint. Oh,
And the
who?
question:
Oh, who is the Tasmanian Devil?
what is Australia's southernmost state?
Tasmania.
Tasmania.
Now
And
if you ever had any doubt of how well Joe and I are connected, that right there should dispel all doubt in your mind that we're both cut
right.
out of the same cloth.
You know what the big thing is now? There's controversy. They've just made a sequel to Space Jam.
Hmm.
Remember that cartoon with Michael Jackson? I think they just come up with a new version of Space Jam. It's going to be coming out very soon, and actually two controversial things have come out of that sequel. Number one, and they mentioned it last night on Jimmy Kimmel's show, is Lola Bunny. Did you
Okay,
see the first cartoon? Lola Bunny, Bugs Bunny's girlfriend.
I vaguely remember it. Yeah,
Lola Bunny in the first Space Jam was a rather well-built bunny, if you get the idea, get the
right.
impression. And now, with this new version coming out, the sequel, Lola is still there, but she's not as voluptuous and well built as she was in the first movie. So she's a lot she's a lot normal
Okay.
as, as compared to what, and that's one controversy. And the other controversy is a key character, a key Looney Tunes character, has been told
All
that
right, Pepe Le Pew is no longer.
he cannot
Yeah.
he cannot be in this movie.
Oh God.
Which incidentally, he played a major role in the first movie when they were going up against the Monstars, the basketball team,
Hmm.
and just as they were about to get the lead, here's Michael Jackson wearing a gas mask, and he's holding Pepe Le Pew up to the Monstars, and of course the first thing that happens to the Monstars is ah! And they fall right over. But Pepe Le Pew is not allowed in this new movie because of his characterization and what
Oh,
he does. You know, so
well,
there you go.
the thought police are here. What can you do?
And my
Eli,
wife says they flattened. My wife puts it best in terms of Lola Bunny. She says they flattened the curves of Lola Bunny.
yes, very
So
good. Hey, here's an
so there you
interesting.
go.
Eli put up an interesting question. What is the only state, except for Alaska and Hawaii, what is the only state that does not have a north-south interstate that passes somewhere through that state?
A north-south interstate that doesn't pass a north-south. Well, I mean, you would expect all of them to have at least except maybe one that one that is along the Canadian border, perhaps.
The only, you know
Um,
what? Delaware might not, because 95 actually. I mean, technically, it kind of clips north. I always make the joke about the fact that you cross the Delaware Bridge, you pay a $4 toll. You see a big sign that says "Welcome to Delaware." Then you come to another toll, and then the next thing you see is a sign saying "Welcome to Maryland."
Maryland.
Okay, so I mean, 95 does not go all the way north south through the state. Okay,
Right.
so I'm thinking that's a possibility. Rhode Island, 95 kind of turns and goes toward Providence and then goes northeast into Massachusetts. So I guess that sort of counts like a north-south, I suppose. But I would say, I'm going to say Delaware. I can't think of any other state that's small enough or in an angle. The only one you could make a case for maybe is West. Well, 81 in West Virginia is like you're only in there for a handful of miles. You know, kind of cuts into the state and then cuts back out.
Right.
So I'm going to say Delaware. So I don't know if Eli put
So
the answer.
we have to wait for him to put the answer up.
Well,
Or?
Eli put the question up like, oh, answer is Nevada, but there are many ways to interpret it. Okay, so I'm going to say Delaware because Delaware, it doesn't go north south. You have to take a state road, either 13 or one of the other ones to go, like 650 miles straight south, whereas 95 just goes up in the northern part. So you learn so many different, wonderful, fantastic, amazing things on the Joe and Joe Weather Show.
And by the way, Hawaii has an interstate system, although what they say is that although they don't connect to another state, they are built in accordance to interstate standards.
Yes.
So that's fine. So instead of like 95 or 84 or 684 or whatever, in Hawaii you have H1, H2. Those are the Hawaiian interstates. Again, even though you're not connecting to any particular other state, but
right,
that's weird.
Ethan Cursa, doesn't 95 count as a north-south interstate? It does. All the odd numbered interstates are north-south, and all the even numbers are east-west. But
East-west.
The thing is, where if you look at 95, it doesn't. The way the question was worded is whether the interstate goes north-south through the whole state, and 95 does not do that in Delaware. So I just will point that out. So there.
Right.
So it's according to how you interpret the question.
Yes.
All right. Mrs. Rayo has already said nighty night to all, so I guess that means
I saw that.
We have to go. All right.
That we have to go.
All right. Thanks everybody for being here. The Joe and Joe Weather Show tonight, brought to you by, as it is every night, by our friends at Omni True Value Hardware, where they're getting ready for spring, and they got mulch and topsoil and gravel and everything else at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, 631-756-1125. The best prices in town, omnitruevalue.com. And brought to you by Wholesale Holiday Lighting by Giannini at 162 Ocean Avenue in Lindenhurst. Plan ahead for the next holiday season where Wholesale Holiday Lighting by Giannini, your complete holiday lighting specialist, 631-957-5106. So tomorrow we're back at 7:30, and it seems like the sound worked okay tonight, so that's a good thing. So we'll see everybody tomorrow.
Well, you have a good night, all.
Nighty night, everybody.